The scene is set within the boardroom of the Black Orchid. After John Stanhope, Prince of New Sarah, has spoken ever so briefly with Javier Rojas and Mr. DeFornio, he heads straight up towards the third floor and into the boardroom. He grabs a couple of the security personnel who is attached to his person for his protection and says, "Radio Mr. Crown. Tell him to get in contact with Mr. Brehon to meet me here immediately." He takes a seat at the head of the table and waits for his clanmate to come in. Mr. Crown himself cannot leave the security or control room himself, but via the radio link to John's School, Jeffrey, he will be kept up to date to the security happenings within this scene.
Laird enters the room, followed by Joe Castillo, and he walks over to the right side of John Stanhope with his head bowed in deference, and he says, "My prince." What would you have us do?
Mr. Brehon, we have a situation.
Okay.
It appears that through information that the Nosferatu Primogen, Mr. Podi, is highly suspected of being the plague bearer.
You see Laird's face just... It's almost like a little bit of relief hinged with a lot of sadness. Sure. This will have implications. He's a Primogen, sir.
As such, yes, it would. I have made certain members of Clan Nosferatu be aware of this eventuality. It is my intention to ask Mr. Podi for his blood willingly for testing. If he refuses, then to detain him forcefully if necessary.
Of course. Of course.
Jeffrey, he says to his ghoul, would you please let Mr. Crown know that once Mr. Podi is in the boardroom, that he should keep an eye on what's going on here, and that his security staff should lock the door behind them, in case he decides to panic and run. As a Primogen of the Nosferatu, I suspect his first instance will be to obfuscate and run. It is my hope that we can prevent this. John will then buff his stats, seeing as he's usually very well fed. He will buff them all to 5. Because there's plenty of blood around for him to refill later. But that will take him for... so that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh. What's my gen again? What's my maximum blood pool? Because that's quite a lot of blood. Okay, that's going to make me a little hungry. So we'll say I'll bump my stamina and my dex to 5, and then leave my strength, which will only take 5 blood.
I'll say that I spend 1 blood on stamina and 1 blood on dex, just 2, just the 2. But I look over to Joe, and then I look back at Stanhope, and I say, "Is there a gun about that we can give Joe? He's trained."
John nods to Jeff. Jeffrey gives the other ghoul a light revolver. If possible, gentlemen, I would prefer if no firearms were fired in Elysium. It will give too much of a ruckus. Stakes, however, would be preferable.
Do we have any?
John pats his side, knows that he has his.
Yes.
Goes over to.
Oh, sorry. You go. You go.
I know if you got a suggestion.
I was going to say we could have Joe break a chair. Just snap a chair and make some mistakes.
Certainly. Not that one.
Not that one? No.
Not that one. That's Mr. Flagg's chair.
All right. That chair.
Break any of them.
Okay. Joe takes a chair and he starts breaking it, and he produces two roughshod pieces of wood out of the backings of one of the chairs, and they'll serve as stakes. And he hands one to Laird, and he holds one behind his back while taking the revolver with his other hand. Now, I'm assuming he wouldn't have his Kevlar vest if this was the Elysium. He'd just be wearing a suit. So yeah, he's just wearing a suit. Yeah, okay. But I motion for Joe to stand behind you on your left to add additional protection for the prince. And I sit down at your right.
Can you sweep up the remains of that chair, please? Just stick it in one of the store cupboards. We'll deal with it later.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Mr. Graham? He's heading up this way. Excellent. Thank you. Please keep an eye out. Thank you very much.
Yes. Podi, having received the time, as he was stalking through the streets, angry and not sure what to do after storming out and talking to his clanmates at the Rat Pack room, he makes his way, part of him considering not turning up, but he thinks he has to. And as he approaches outside the Black Orchid, he'll be visible on their outside cameras. He'll pause 5 or 6 meters from the entrance and try and contact Stanhope if he has his number.
John's phone rings. Yes.
Oh, good evening, my prince.
Mr. Podi,
Whereabouts is this meeting to take place?
I can send someone down to direct you towards the boardroom.
Ah. I prefer somewhere more open.
I'm sure you would, Mr. Podi, but I am the prince. Come to my boardroom now. Click.
Podi hangs up, and Cram will see on his camera that he kind of teeters, debating it within himself whether just to walk away now or whether to carry on with what he's doing for all these many, many long decades and try and be the true servant. And he goes with his habitual behaviour, his core belief, hoping against hope that somehow he can maybe get through this. And he's always had a silver tongue, so he hopes that may come in useful in smoothing things. So he, taking his glasses off as he steps in, putting them in his pocket, walks in, head held high, putting on a brave face, waiting for someone to direct him to the boardroom. And as he's led,
He enters to see the assembly.
he begins to concentrate on making himself prepared in case he has to run, because he has to get out of there. He puts blood into his dex, bringing it to 5, and into his stamina and into his strength as well, leaving him with 4 blood points remaining. And I'll work out the maths and put it in the chat exactly what my stats are right now in a second.
When he enters, you'll see the assembled cast here is the prince, his puppy, and a couple of retainers. The door closes behind him as the security guards usher him through. Mr. Podi, please sit down. We have very little time to delay. I have many people to see this evening.
Podi will step in and they look around. Whereabouts are other people situated? Are people standing to his side or in front of him?
I believe the ghouls are like behind him, either side, and Mr. Brehon will be standing to his right. The table between them at the moment.
Laird nods at Podi from across the room. A slight nod, you know.
Podi smiles and he stands by his chair, hands on it, not sitting. I think I will stand. I do not wish to sit. I've been sitting far too long ago.
Sorry, Mr. Podi, could you repeat that? My ears didn't seem to have drifted off for a while.
Podi said that he would stand. He's sitting too long of late. So he's stood behind his chair.
If you wish. Mr. Podi, you are one of the many kindred of this community that I'm seeing with at the moment. I hope you caught my announcement over the show of faith that the court is giving in the current renewal project over the dangers of the Kine at this point. This was just a simple meeting to request your sample of vitae, please.
I caught some of it. I heard much talk of a plague bearer and other such, but I must admit I missed the beginning of your Elysium. There was some traffic and whatnot.
Apologies, let me reiterate. I have withheld feeding rights from all kindred within the city until this problem has been dealt with. However, as a show of good faith towards the kindred community, I have said that all of the court and high-ranking members of the Camarilla will willingly submit themselves to this test. So therefore we can have complete transparency for those naysayers within the lesser echelons of the community.
I see. Quite sweeping changes. And he'll take his hand just gently off the chair and take a fraction of a step back. Not quite a step, just a funny shuffle, and look quickly at the ghoul and Brehon and back to Stanso.
Very quickly, would you mind if I did a perception empathy to see if, like, you're panicked or you're just about to bolt?
It's clear that he's nervous, but if you want to judge how,
Okay.
roll away.
Alright, excellent. John will flash his Auspex, because he doesn't want to take any chances. Oh yeah, my alertness is pretty poor actually, so only 2 successes.
You'll notice that he is looking nervous. Is it aura perception or is it just general reading?
It's just heightened safety.
You know he's nervous. There's maybe some kind of fear or dread or something he's trying to hide that's a negative emotion similar to fear on his face. It kind of twitches through the kind of half smile he's attempting. It's not very convincing when you pay attention.
Can Laird make the same roll? He's got Auspex too, so alright. So he flashes Auspex at you, he rolls perception empathy, and gets at least 2%. Yeah, okay, he gets 2. So,
Oh
so
yeah,
he,
I have more. Never mind.
Yeah.
2 successes.
Well,
Yeah.
all you'll notice is those same things described in greater detail and more accuracy, with more confidence.
The prince will look at his nervous disposition and say, Mr. Podi, you should not be nervous. Do not freeze in place. Dominate time, bitches. Manipulation and intimidation. What is your current willpower?
What's your gen?
Oh, are you high gen?
Not
Do we want to put it in the? Do you want to put it in the side? Do you
um,
want to put it in the side bar so we don't give it away and see? I am the same gen as you,
Excellent.
Nice.
so it will work. Phew! Okay, what is your current willpower, sir?
1 second, my sheet is not loading like it should. It's been slow. Willpower is 6.
6. Okie dokie. I'm not going to be cheeky and use enchanting voice on this because it's a command rather than a suggestion. So we'll go for straight 6. Oh, I do love it. 1, 2, 3, 4 successes.
Nice. Nicely done.
That's 4 successes. Yep, so that's 4 successes within 4 effective rounds, about 12 15 seconds of him frozen, I suppose.
Now, at which point I suppose we roll for initiative.
Well, there's no point. You've got effectively 4 rounds, and then roll for initiative if you need to.
I mean, I don't know what your stamina is, but basically they're going to try and stake you.
Yeah.
It'll be like, just take a stake.
Yeah.
So it's
Pretty
up to you. We can just hand wave it, or we can roll it. It's up to you.
I'd like to roll it because it'll be quite amusing if you fail to repeatedly stake him 4 times each. And he has got
Pretty
5
much.
stamina at the moment, so he may well soak it all and just be
very
very
true.
annoyed.
I'll be very annoyed. Okay. Let's roll some initiatives then. John's done his action. We'll just leave that at that. He won't be
Okay.
joining in the scuffle. Jeffrey,
Okay.
let me get his character sheet. Lard, if you wouldn't mind rolling in as well.
No, it's fine. It's the. I'm just checking. It's the dice roll plus wits plus alertness, right?
And
Dex
Dex.
and wits. Dex and wits.
It's,
Dex and wits. Okay. Dex and wits. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So Laird rolls a 7, and plus 4 he gets 11.
Yep.
And then
Ooh, lovely.
yeah, not bad, right? And then
Put that in the chat.
Castillo is much faster though. With a straight 16, he is up there. Like, so he whips the stake out from behind his back and just
Beautiful.
charges. Yeah.
Yep. Jeffrey also gets a 16. So he also will charge. So the ghouls go first, followed by Laird. Oh, apologies. Poddy, you should roll in for when you can act.
Yeah, what stands so fast, one?
Well, basically, Stan's Hope's like
Well, if he's not taking
ridiculous.
part,
So let's have a look. My dex is actually. Oh, Stan's Hope has got an 18
nice. Cool. Okay, that's all in the chat now, so don't.
because of the dex buff.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Oh.
Okay, so oh dear, Mr. Poddy.
I actually didn't factor in my dex buff, but that's just 1 point on Laird. He'd still be going after the ghouls, so he's last. He's the slowest.
He's got 11. What he's got 11?
Yeah, he's got 11 plus 1. He should have 12 really because he buffed his dex one before Poddy came. I forgot about it.
Okay, so what's Poddy on?
11 and Led's on 12.
Yeah.
Okay. So you wouldn't mind writing that in the chat. There we go. Oh, Lord's 12, but what about Podi?
Sure.
Podi 11. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so the goals first. Let's have a look at Jeffrey Darling. Well, he's got Dex 3 melee 1. He
Joe
obviously
will be
has potence.
He'll let the Elder Ghoul go first. He'll defer.
Jeffrey's got a combat character.
You can roll simultaneously to save time.
Yeah, we can roll simultaneously. They're both just like,
There we go. There we go. Okay, cool.
Jeffrey
All right. So
will spend his blood point to activate potence.
Cool.
So is a stake melee?
What DC would you say? Since
okay, it's melee.
it's melee, yeah.
Yeah, it's Dex plus melee. Still DC 9 because try and aim for the heart.
Wouldn't you lower the DC because he can't defend himself?
Yeah, go for it. DC.
So mine do, so 7, since we're aiming for the heart.
Yeah, I say 7.
Yeah, go for it. Go for 7.
Okay. Well then, Castillo gets 2 because you're sitting down and you're still.
He's standing up.
Well, he's not sitting down. He's standing.
Okay, standing. You're standing. You're just there for the taking, and he just runs at you with 2 successes, plunging the stake into you.
You then add your strength +1, +1 for your part of the success that carries over.
So okay, it's strength +2 then total, is what you're saying. Okay.
Stake is also gives you a +1.
Yeah, that is the +2.
Right.
But it's plus.
Okay,
plus
so
strength.
Jeffrey.
Okay.
Is it just plus strength? I thought it was strength +1.
It's strength +1, +1 for his extra success.
Okay.
Ah, yeah.
So you probably want to roll one more dice for
unfortunately,
that.
Jeffrey
Strength 1.
particularly plus the extra one, plus the extra one. 1 automatic success because of potence. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 successes from Jeffrey's staking.
Okay, I'll roll the soak for Jeffrey's first, because that's one that might actually stake in. 1, 2. No, so he's got 2 levels of damage.
Okie dokie.
And then how many?
Now the one with Joey.
How many to roll for
Joe,
Lex?
okay, Joe has 1 potence in the stake. Are those auto successes, or should I add? Or do I add 2 extra dice? I forget if that's how this works.
If you spent blood, it's automatic successes. If not, it just adds to your strength.
We'll just say like he spent the blood to do it. I guess that's fine. So okay, he gets 1 success and he spent the blood potence. 2 successes.
So it's 2.
Normally, the format is when you declare your action, declare your blood spend. This
Okay,
is,
well, then he did. Yeah. Then he didn't. Then he just staked you. That's fine. He just staked you. That I'll do it next round.
I don't mind you doing it now. This is your first combat.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks. All right, so he hits you with the 2 then.
So I've got two to save from that. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, cool. So he soaks it all, and then he would have had +1 because it's a stake, but that gets soaked in that too. Okay, so okay, I got it in my head now. I got it straight.
Yeah, the +1 is +1 to your dice roll, so it's your strength +1 plus the additional successes.
Okay, well then next time I'll roll it that way. All right. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Not to worry.
Only potence. Automatic.
Yeah. That's cool.
So now it is Lard Brehon.
Okay. Oh, Laird. Laird lunges at you. He, of course, is not a melee character either because, man, we really need a crown. But he gets 2 10s. He hits. Even though he doesn't have a lot. He just straight up hits you.
That's your strength +1 to roll, +1 extra for the success.
Okay. Guess he gets you once.
Yeah, so I'll roll that. No, it doesn't stake him, but he takes another level of damage.
So he is injured now.
Yes.
Okie dokie. Now, I believe it is Poddy.
Poddy's frozen, isn't he?
He
Unless you're
is,
saying.
but he's also been threatened. So,
So, does that break for dominate?
the problem is, like, yeah, we've attacked you. It's breaks your dominate.
Okie dokie.
Just being fair.
Poddy's reaction is going to be to get the fuck out of dodge. So, what's people's wits and alertness, please? Because that's the DC for Vanish from the Mind's Eye.
Okay.
Okay. For Mr.
I'll
Darling, his wits and alertness is level 5. For John's,
It's just the highest in the room.
highest in the room. Well, I've got 5 for my characters.
Okay.
Laird is 3, and then Castillo should be 6.
6. Okie dokie. DC 6. Combats, you can't. I'm not going to spend a willpower because he's too panicked. 1, 2, 3. Let me double check if it's 3 or more or dead on 3 for it to work instantly. With 3 or fewer successes, character fades, does not vanish, becomes indistinct, ghost-like figure. So, tracking the character accurately while he appears like a ghost is a perception alertness roll, difficulty 8. And he's going to try next time to use it again and completely disappear. So you see him kind of here, this ghostly outline, a little bit difficult to follow as he kind of moves a bit as he's going to run. He's not really moved from massively where he is at the moment.
Okay, so everybody's got to roll, right? So I'll roll, you said DC 8, and I just get 3 dice.
Well, no, do it on your turn when you want to act.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll say I failed that roll, like, because I rolled it. So Laird failed his roll, but that's okay. It's a bull roll.
Right. For John's turn, he'll sigh and say, "You have to do everything yourself." Pull out a stake with a ribbon on it. I really didn't want to have to use this because I've been saving it for God knows how long. He unfurls the ribbon and says, keeping an image of Mr. Poddy in his mind, "Mr. Poddy." And the stake flies out of his hands with thaumaturgical magic and will automatically attempt to attack Poddy. It lasts for 5 rounds and has 7 dice.
Splinter Serpent, isn't it?
That was my ace in the hole. I got that from, I can't remember Walter Schoen's Tremere character, but...
That's an old... Yeah.
It will attempt to stake you. I keep a lot of curios. I gather them all, just in case. It will attempt to stake you, DC 9.
Yep. We'll go for it.
It succeeds.
If he goes in the torpor, it might be very different to him being actually staked.
Okay, I believe from what I've written down in my notes, it has an effective sort of strength damage of 5.
It's an attack pool of wits and occult of the caster.
Yeah. I mean, I basically just asked the guy for the stats and I wrote it down on my sheet, and this is just what I've got here. I have no idea how it works.
Go for it.
So that's 4 points of damage.
Damn.
For you to soak.
And he fails, so he is firmly staked and in torpor from the actual damage. So shooting from John's hand at the words whispered to the serpent of the splinter, it shoots directly into his heart. Poddy almost gasps as he falls down, face first, his hat falling off, his glasses standing on the floor out of his pocket, and he is still and rigid.
And that is why, gentlemen, I am the prince.
No question. No question. So
That was quite an expensive item.
As Podi hears these words in his painful, immobile state, he just whispers to himself, "Why did I look at his eyes? Why didn't I look away from his eyes?"
John kneels next to Poddy's body. Forgive me, Mr. Poddy. I do hope that I am wrong, but you can't be too careful. Geoffrey moved Mr. Poddy's body to somewhere secure. It will not raise eyebrows that Nosferatu left the Elysium unseen, and send the blood immediately towards my labs. I will test this personally.
Laird gestures towards Joe, who goes to help Geoffrey. They both take the body up together, since it's faster for two men to grab from both ends. And he walks over to John and says, "Nicely done, Sire."
Let us hope that we are right, Mr. Horn, or this is going to cause a shitstorm.
Well,
But if this is my last night as prince, I might as well enjoy it, he says, straightening his tie and dusting himself off, even though he didn't really scuffle with anybody. Let us enjoy the party.
certainly. And Laird gets up and he goes to open the door, holding it open for John. And then John hears Laird say, "Honestly, sir, I hope you're prince for many nights to come."
I appreciate it, Mr. Brohorn, but I have no intention of going anywhere. And the scene ends.